Hello everyone, my name is Steven Zapata. I'm a concept artist, illustrator, online art teacher, and former instructor at Art Center College of Design. I would like to introduce you to my new drawing course, Form from Imagination, a course designed to help you draw with confidence from your mind. Maybe you want to be a professional illustrator or designer, maybe you want to be a master with a pencil, or maybe you just want to be the best artist that you can be. Beautiful goals. But it's not always clear how to improve the work that you do from imagination. Over the past 6 months, I've taken all of the little eurekas, tips, and essential exercises that gave me confidence drawing from my mind and compiled them into a sequential course. We start with the absolute foundations, covering the scientific nature of light and shadow, how to hatch, how to create flat tones, how to render spheres and cubes, and step by step, we move through combined shapes, complex shapes, organic shapes. We cover how to simplify extremely complex subjects like the head into basic shapes so that you can handle them more easily from your head. We look at how to understand and treat details. And by the end of these 14 chapters with over 50 video lessons, you'll be ready to do complex designs from your mind with fidelity and energy. And all the demos are done in pencil on paper, so you can do all of the assignments even if you don't have a fancy digital art setup. But I also have demos, instructions, and modifications to the assignments for those who do want to do them digitally. Here's how it works. Go to formfromimagination.com and sign up for the course. Download the assignment book and start watching the lectures. Do the assignments at your own pace. Take your time with them and use this self-study to develop your patience. When you're done, post your assignments in the exclusive community hub, and I'll personally critique your work with drawovers, diagrams, and advice. I want you to know, this course is no joke just because it's online. It is challenging content, and it is more complete than it would be if I was teaching this class at an art college as I have before. If I was teaching this class in person at Art Center today, I would just play these videos in class, knowing full well that they're the most concise, focused, edited, step-by-step way to convey the material. So I'm serious when I say, this course isn't just a substitute for a college-level course, it's better than a college-level course. And you don't have to pay thousands of dollars per credit and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So thank you for checking out the course, thank you for watching this and for your support, and thank you for drawing and making your artwork. The world needs it. I'll see you soon. Here we are. We're alive, I think. I think I'm alive. I feel like I'm alive. I act like I'm alive. I feel and think like I'm alive live on the internet. Ah, ha, ha, ha. No, I'm so small. Ah, ha, ha, ha. No, I'm so small. Help me. I'm big. I'm just tiny. I can't, baby. I can barely get around in my stream. I can barely go do things and things like that. What? Ah, somebody come here with this face. No, I really don't feel good. Holy God, somebody come here. All right. I'm the Speak. All right, everybody. You know the deal. You know the deal. Let me fix my little setting up new here. Let's see, am I zoomed in enough? Yeah. I like small Steven, they say. Of course they like small Steven. Monday, December 19th, an incredible day in the history of calendars. We're getting right up to the end of the year here. Holiday season is coming up for my socioeconomic, demographic, cultural, national configuration of conditioning factors. Holiday season for me doesn't necessarily mean it's holiday season for you, but holiday season is coming up for me, along with all of the attendant stress. Holidays were designed to stress people out. Am I loud enough? I feel like I'm loud enough. Where are my Gorblorns at? You know, I gotta get back to the Gorblorns. I got to get back to that lineup of Gorblorns we were doing, but I just feel like drawing, you know, new stuff today. Just feel like sketching. It's the best part, of course. But we'll get back to those guys. Hello, Bima. Hello, Hush. Hello, Epifeed Dude. Hello, Engine. Hello, Neil Kowalkowski. Tristan Ho, Gopal Welling, Hush 416, Art Genetica. Anirud. Gabuda. Sakari, Iron Pignan, Iron Penguin, Planet for Weirdos, Great White Sufi, and all of the many others who are in here. I'm sorry that I'm not getting to everybody. Let me take my internet off my Wi-Fi so that I am on the pure hard connection with the no drop frames. How's everybody doing on Monday? The beginning of another week, you know? You gotta make art. Even though it's a new week, that doesn't mean that the new week doesn't include art. It's like some would say the new week includes art. New week means, all right, recommit myself to making art, to being creative, to honoring my interior creative potential. Just discovered you a few months ago, been listening a lot. Thanks for everything. Hey, I'm happy to be in your ears. Don't take me too seriously. I don't need to be the only thoughts rolling around in your head. Merry Christmas, says Max. Merry Christmas to you, Max. What if someone steals your art using AI and uses it for commercial purposes? Why are you guys thinking about AI? It's weird. You guys are paying attention to that stuff? None for me, thanks. I never touch this stuff. We're just gonna draw a bunch of stuff today. For all of the people who are only here to hear me talk about AI and follow me for AI drama, you're out of luck. There's only so much I can stomach talking about AI. I'm an artist first. Surprise, surprise. Some days I just need to draw. And I consider it a personal priority to keep myself in balance and to make sure that I just don't get completely neurotically hung up on one thing. So all of you who are here just for the AI drama, you're out of luck. Not today, folks. I will say, I did see that ArtStation reacted in the smallest way possible and at least added the button to opt out all of your things at once from AI training. I don't understand why they would take that opportunity when they were programming things anyway to not just make everything automatically opt out and make you have to opt in to AI training. That's surprising that they went that way, but you know, I'm just such a agreeable kind of a guy that even though I think it's absurd, I still find myself here being like, hey, at least they did that. Yeah. I just can't help it. Temperamentally, I'm an extremely agreeable dude. I always want to give people their little props for the little things. We're listening to lo-fi holiday music. Don't know how I feel about it. Don't know how I feel about this lo-fi Christmas beats playlist. Gonna be honest. Gonna be honest. I look away for 10 seconds and you draw an entire back. That's what we do here. People think, oh, Steven, he's all about the chatting. Oh, Steven, he's all about the talking. Oh, Steven, he's all about having cogent and rational points about artificial intelligence making art. That's not what I'm all about. You forget that that's all built on the substrate of I can draw back in 10 seconds. That's the truth. Now that's what it's all about. Look, did I watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio? Yes, I did. Did I cry? Yes. Yes, it's true. Sure, I cried. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but that last sequence, I was like, all the way up to the end, I was like, I'm good. I'm fine, whatever. You ain't gonna get me. Come on. Come on, you ain't gonna get me. I knew, I felt it all through my bones. I was like, I'm solid on this one. Untouchable. And then that last sequence, I was like, shh. You got me, Guillermo. You got me. Steven, I assure you, no one has ever thought you're all about the chat interaction. Good. Some people, I don't know. Some people may think that. Sometimes I worry about that. Am I zoomed out enough here? What are you missing there? Barely anything. We're down to here. Yeah. Joseph Marzeliano, many congratulations, my friend, on your personal life achievements. I'm not going to mention it explicitly until you do, because you have the right to your privacy. I'm just sketching today, folks. I'm probably just going to do a million mindless sketches. This is really what my art practice has been built on. I do lots of other things and have had to do a lot of other things in order to get my skills where I want, but by sheer volume and time spent, what I'm doing here, just a pad of paper, doing sketches at 1,000,000 miles a minute, and just ripping paper out of the pad, going to the next sheet, next sheet, next sheet. By sheer volume, this is what my practice has been based in, and is what most of my practice has been. Is it the most efficient way? Probably not. But I admire it for its simplicity and its fun. Great White Sufi says, I got an iPad from my friend to make posters for him. I have 1 week to learn all of digital art. Well, your friend is a very kind friend. A lot of people would just ask you to make the posters. At least they fronted you the tech. That's pretty tight. Pretty tight. I'm a jerk, though. Joe will tell you I'm a jerk. If a friend did that to me, I'd be like, you can keep it. I don't like being betrothed to other people based on stuff like that. I'm not the coolest guy. Definitely not the coolest guy. Thanks, bud. I got engaged. Yes, Joseph got engaged. Congratulations, Joe. I hope everybody congratulates Joseph. M. Santos says, watching while on work, so I'm not a hate viewer anymore. Incredible. We've converted a hate viewer, everyone. It's rare, but it does happen. The vast majority of my audience, as everybody understands, you don't need me to tell you, is built on AI people coming in here to hate me and to keep up to date on my arguments so that they can find petty ways to try to undermine them in their personal discords and on their subreddits. But every now and then, while they're in here doing their research, they're like, damn, he's good at drawing. And then they're not a hate viewer anymore. Suddenly they're over here to see some real drawing. It does happen. It's rare. It can only happen to the most enlightened individuals and people with excellent taste. They just can't help themselves, in spite of themselves. They can't help but admire the drawing chops. Wait until they hear you sing. Yeah, I wish you a Merry Christmas. Oh, yeah. Oh, I wish you a Merry Christmas. Ooh, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I just do that to burn off viewers. Sometimes I think the viewer count is a little too high. I do that just to burn off viewers. I'm like, there's too many people hate watching. Let's burn them off a little bit. And as we all know, whenever I sing, my dog comes to visit me. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. Yeah, I understand you were sleeping. It's just, it's part of the Right, but if I don't keep them entertained, they won't come back. And then... But you like the treats that you get, and the treats cost money. So there's got to be some tolerances for doing things to get them. Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'll be quieter. Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah. The sternest of talking to. Yeah, well, she don't. I raised her to have a lot of confidence, you know? Good morning, artist, says Mitchell. Welcome, Mitchell. Oh God, it looks like the drawing is about to twerk. Bum 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 bum. Looks like the World Cup. I wonder what you mean by that. Man, that final was pretty wild, huh? That was pretty damn crazy. I don't really follow sports, but I was over at my in-laws and I was watching it with my father-in-law, and it was just... What a dramatic finish. That was really wild. It's always also fun to see someone with like the big narrative earn something big like that. It's like there's this whole story behind Messi, and then it's like the perfect little cherry on top, and like in such dramatic fashion. Even for someone who's not a sports person, that's fun to see. Actually, that's kind of dirty because it's transparent. That's one beefy boy. We're doing a lot of swapping through sketches today, I'll tell you that. No plan today, just the joy of snaking lines around on the page and letting the lines do their thing. They don't need to amount to anything. They don't need to mean anything. They don't need to say anything about me or you or us or society or culture. They don't need to go in my portfolio. They don't need to demonstrate how badass I am at drawing. They need only be. They need only be. So long as I draw today, I have won. Suggestions on how to build an own visual portfolio for inspiration? You mean just like a folder of references or stuff like that? I've never been good at that personally. I just save everything that that really stands out to me. I just save it to one folder on my computer called Super Baller Mummy Wraps. It's named that as a reminder that you can't take it with you. And the closest you could get to that being possible is if you were wrapped in it and mummified. Everything that you draw and paint. That's actually what it's called. I just save everything into that folder, and then I have a screensaver that just cycles through that folder so that every now and then I'll see them again. That's it. I don't do like a really carefully organized reference folder or anything like that. I don't sit down and just draw enough. Yes, well, as the pressures of life get more and more difficult, as you get more and more scared of things. That really is what it is. It's like it becomes difficult to sit down and just draw because you're just building up this patina of fear across your life, that every little thing that you do needs to make perfect sense and needs to contribute to something, or you've got to make some money off of it, or it's going to prove that you're A, B, C, D to people G, D, F, H. And it's just that eventually ruins everything. It's not easy. You've got to put in effort to just drawing, surprisingly, in this culture. Pretty sure that is someone's fetish. I already forgot what I said that would be in reference to, but that is simply a factual statement. It doesn't matter what I said. You're right, it's still correct, absolutely true. It's someone's. Hello, Arctic Monkey. Hello, Luna. Hey, to everybody who's been messaging me lately, I've been getting a lot of messages and emails. I just want to apologize to everyone that I haven't been able to get back to. It's really overwhelming, the sheer amount, and I like to give thoughtful responses whenever I respond to anything, because I'm very aware of how responses that aren't thoughtful can really affect people. I just can't get back to all of it, but I really appreciate all of the messages and emails and information that people send me and everything like that. I consider it a great shame that I can't get back to you all, but I just want to thank you. I know these are dramatic times. And to everybody who's been messaging me like, whoop, my camera's in the shot. Gotta fix that. To everybody who's been messaging me like invites to come on panels or shows and things like that, if I didn't get back to you, I'm really sorry. I just, I find things in separate DM inboxes and things like that I've had to like put on hold, so I'm only looking at them like once every couple of weeks or something like that. It's nothing personal. I probably would like to come on your thing. It's just a time management thing. I just can't go on everything. Your Virtuoso says, hi man, your stream is great. I just found it. Happy to have you here. Glad you like it. Folks know that when you come on their show, they're getting the info straight from the robot's output module. Yep. Yeah, for anyone who wishes I would go on their podcast or be on their panel or anything like that, just ask Chat GPT what would Steven Zapata say to this question? I'm pretty sure that wouldn't work, for the record. I don't think there's enough of my writing out there, and I don't think ChatGPT is scraping video transcripts, so Not yet. I do think it's great that so many people are paying attention, though. I'm very happy to see that the discourse is alive and that people are doing those panels and podcasts and conversations. It's very, very good to see people paying attention and willing to come out and discuss it. Is it helpful to trace on top of pictures to study anatomy? Yes, but only to a limited degree. A classic anatomical tracing, where you take like a figure model photo and then you try to draw the muscles as accurately as possible over it. Very, very good for the initial stages of trying to remember origins and insertions and sort of where the heck does that muscle actually occur. It also gets you used to understanding how unclear muscles actually are on the real figure. When you're doing a tracing, and even if you have all these references, like anatomy chart references open in front of you, it can still be amazingly hard to decide what bump is what a lot of the time. And that's an education all of its own, to show you that anatomy isn't always clear and that it does change a lot from person to person. Not the origins and insertions, but when you add on all of the other things like fat layers, the current tension in that muscle at the time, people's various amounts of vascularity or striation, the forms, even though they are generally shared across people, they do present themselves in a shocking amount of variety. And that is an education worth having on its own. I just tagged all of my art in ArtStation with the no AI tag. Thanks for the tip in your recent live stream. No problem. Yushi poop. Yushi poo. Yushi popo. Popo. And do note that after that stream, they did add the function to opt out all of your stuff at once. If you go to your account settings, they added a button at the bottom that opts out all of your stuff. So anybody who has been not wanting to do it or get going on it yet because it was going to take a while to do all the opting, you can just click one button now. At least they listened to that. What type of pencil are you using? This is the Faber-Castell Polychromos Black. It's a black colored pencil. Morta's Champion says, hey Steven, how are you? I'm good. I am good. Have you ever experimented with drawing with your weaker hand? Sure. I've done some left-handed drawings on a lark. I'll tell you though, I think I'm more of a strong hand kind of a guy. I do like when my drawings are looking as good as I could do them. Joe says Polychromos Black is the follow-up song to Bodak Yellow. That's funny. Oh, you think you're real funny, huh, Joe? ArtStation trending page is filled up with no AI round 5. This is great too. Yeah, it's awesome to see that people are taking it so seriously. It's freaking amazing. Bless up, everyone. And the GoFundMe for the Concept Art Association fundraiser is, what's it at? They're past the halfway mark. They're at 138,230. Amazing. What an outpouring of support. You gotta love it, man. Pretty incredible. It warms my heart. It warms my Grinch heart in this holiday season. Bought a Claire Wendling art book and it's arriving a week earlier. If this isn't a Christmas miracle, I don't know what it is. It's a Christmas miracle. Give the gift of Claire. The CAA could make a site like ArtStation or Tumblr, but without AI, they could. I mean, it's just, it takes a lot of bandwidth to do that. And I think that they're pretty focused on different sides of the fight right now. They're focused on legislation and trying to lobby and get protections. They would need to probably like expand their team greatly in order to make a site, because that takes a lot of developers and things like that. But I think people would definitely trust an organization that has shown themselves to be strongly aligned with artists in value and principle after some of the egregious errors that ArtStation and DeviantArt have made. Basic Syphilis 8 with a $10 donation. Some love Steven, haven't been around lately and I still need to watch your AI video. Thank you so much, Basic. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the $10. I'm gonna turn it into delicious coffee, as you know. And hey, the AI video's sitting there waiting for you whenever you're ready. There's no need to rush. There's no need to rush. You just keep living your beautiful life. Basic Syphilis 8. And it's okay if you're not around. I know you got to go live your life. Thank you so much. Truly. Artistic Srin says, what are you drawing? I don't know, just drawing whatever. Just being happy. Just drawing my favorite thing. Forms. Anatomical forms twisting and moving through space. My favorite thing. It doesn't need much reason beyond that. It makes me happy just to do that. And it's in this sort of mindless practice space that I inevitably bump into the particular form configurations that I suddenly become obsessed with, and then I'll usually turn one of those into a finished, more involved drawing. I'll get some happy little accident of form, and I'll be like, ah, now that's worth being a whole drawing. Basic Syphilis says, thank you, Steven. Syphilis, thank you. Wow, here I am. I'm thanking syphilis. That's what my life has become. I'm thanking the life-destroying and world-altering disease of syphilis. But it's true. Thank you, syphilis. Don't thank me. You're the one who gave me $10 US. To turn into coffee. Or who knows, maybe some sort of fancy tea drink. Or God only knows, maybe it's not even tea, maybe it's some sort of fancy mushroom drink. A coffee shop around me has some sort of chaga mate that's ground up mushrooms, and they call it a latte. And I'm such a hipster piece of shit that I have to drink it. God help me. Oh God, I'm wearing a flannel and a fucking beanie. I'm drinking a chaga mate. How did it get like this? How did I get like this? I thought if I refused to live in Brooklyn, everything would be all right. Oh God. Oh God, okay. All right. It's all right. Okay. All right. Do not drink the shroom water. Theodora Daniela Capat says, what is life? When I think AI, we are thinking artificial intelligence. If that's the case, people who praise this, how do they see the future if man has nothing to do? I don't understand. We're all confused here. We're all confused. It's also a bit of a misnomer. It's like, it's a machine learning model. It's not what most of us think of when we think of artificial intelligence. It's just reacting to prompts using statistics and probability. It's not all that intelligent. It doesn't have a cohesive worldview. It doesn't understand context. That's just the phrase that people have settled on. When we actually make an artificial intelligence in the way that we tend to think of intelligence, something that can actually make us worry that it might be sentient, conscious, we're going to need a new word. Just don't make any sense. Why are we giving away things that give us existential reason for being? Doesn't make any sense. We don't have that many of those. It's foolish to hand them out so quickly. Did you ever study George Bridgman's anatomy? Do you think that's a good source for learning it? I have studied it. I think it's not very good for beginners. George Bridgman's anatomy, I think it shouldn't be called an anatomy book. I think that the George Bridgman books are mostly a form book. They're mostly George Bridgman's particular pedagogical outlook on understanding the forms that anatomy produces and how to arrange them in space. That's part of anatomy, but I don't think that's what most people mean when they're early on, when they go looking for anatomy instruction. I think it's poorly named. That's my personal opinion. He thinks he's covering anatomy in those books, but there's been so many better resources for anatomy since then that I think it's crazy to try to learn anatomy from Bridgman. You know, the way he teaches anatomy proper, like origins, insertions, what muscles are layered over others, is in the text. It's written in the text, and we're just not used to that anymore. That's more the old way of learning from older books and things like that. I don't think it's good for most beginners in this era. I think that you should go for something that is more straight down the barrel anatomy instruction first. Actually, I mean, maybe second, but look for something that teaches you in the clearest way possible origins, insertions, and the layering of muscles, interactions between different layers of muscles. And then add on something like Bridgman that focuses on how do you artistically portray that? What does it mean to make whole units of muscles interlock, layer with each other, collide with each other, create compression, create stretch? Those are all more draftsmanship issues that, again, like I said, involve anatomy. But in my personal opinion, and the way that I view the progress of drawing, I do personally think it should be categorized more under draftsmanship concerns rather than anatomical concerns. Mel wants transformational torso so bad. I know you want it, buddy. It'll come. It's just time. It really is just time. I might need to start hiring some people. Steven, my head hurts when I draw. Damn shame. Look at your environment. You might be in a bad ergonomic position. You might be in an environment that's either too dim or too bright. Like, too dim is definitely a problem. You know, you have to strain your eyes, but too bright can be a problem too. Like this marker paper that I'm working on right now is very bright paper. It's like brighter than Bond. It's super white. When I'm working under these lights that I need for streaming, the marker paper can really hurt my eyes. I'm often tempted, and sometimes I do, work with my sunglasses on. No joke. Even though I'm inside. Someone should write a song about that. But really, sometimes it's just way more comfortable to work like this. Your eyes get used to the value changes. And it just cuts down the glare of the lights just bouncing right back up into your eyes. I don't do it on stream because it makes me look like a huge jackass. Hipster level overflow. Like those people wearing sunglasses at night. Did you just come up with that phrase? That's a cool phrase, sunglasses at night. Never heard that before. Greetings, Steven. Greetings, not Rami. Homie in the top left has some crazy lats. You know it, baby. Always. All my monsters do lat pull downs. They're still not as big as like Ronnie Coleman's lats though. People are always weirder. I keep getting my camera in the shot. How's that happening? Because I'm not moving my rig. Something's up. Maybe I'm pushing it with my elbow. Hey Steven, did you study Bern Hogarth? I'm getting his vibe from your sketches. I did, and also Bern Hogarth was one of my main teachers, Ray Bustos. But I remember I spent a lot of time going through, what was it? I had one Hogarth book when I was young. I had the Bern Hogarth Drawing Dynamic Figures. I think that's the one it's called. I think that's the one. I think I picked it up because Marko Djurdjevic had said that was the one that he had studied. It's not for everybody. A lot of people just can't get over Hogarth's heavy mannerism. But if you realize that it's all meant for diagrammatic purposes, if it's an exaggeration used to teach you how the forms sit in space, then you can just sort of look past it and intake the principles. Do you imagine first and draw, or prefer to draw mindlessly? Prefer to draw mindlessly. I can imagine. I can produce pretty vivid mental images, but My preference is to just react to what's on the page when I'm drawing. But I think those things are almost like a chicken and the egg situation. Like, I can react to what's on the page well and with great fidelity because I can imagine vividly in my mind, but I don't like need to sit there like doing it, you know? It's like my mind can, it's more like my mind just can conceive of things on that high fidelity level, and that's going to show whether I'm consciously doing it or not. Why, I'm just realizing that I was looking at one of Hogarth's books a week or so ago. Yeah, he seemed like a good teacher. I heard he was a little intense. I heard he was one of those old school teachers who found it necessary to throw chairs in order to teach drawing. Not my style. Sounds like fun though. There was a lot of those, huh, back in the day? Artists are just very sensitive people. Sensitive people without the best emotional intelligence a lot of the time. And that can be a dangerous combination once they find themselves in something like a teaching environment. If any of your teachers ever throws a chair, I recommend you find a new teacher. Unless you're into that kind of thing. Some people just won't believe they're really learning something unless there's drama to it, you know? Unless there's a fight, unless there's anger, unless there's casting people out or something like that. They just won't believe anything real is being transmitted. Some people just have a gut reaction away from anything that's anodyne or saccharine, you know? And they can't help it. It's just a prejudice. But those people need a different kind of teacher. They unfortunately can go on to think that it's real, you know, because that's the only thing that worked with them. They're the people that you find out there in chats or making videos saying art is objective and there is only one way to get things right. There's things that are beautiful and there's things that aren't, and that's just the way it is. It's like, do you still seek out new drawing methods, knowledges at your skill level? God, yes. And I'm happier than ever when I find them. Because I've rooted out through years and years of looking for stuff and being fascinated and like reading the books, watching videos, asking people questions, because I've rooted out like, let's say maybe 90 to 95% of the like objective good info out there, every time I find a new one, I'm like, oh wow, I never heard that one before. No way, you know, it's like super exciting. There's really only so much of that in art. The vast majority of artistic thinking and the practice that needs to be done in drawing deals with the subjective, deals with what you want, deals with the shapes that you like, the colors you like, deals with the lines and the moods and the shapes that are appropriate to the project that you are doing. There's very little, surprisingly little objective to be said about art. And even the objective parts are things that you can choose to ignore. Things like, the objective parts of art tend to be because people consider art, for the most part, as being heavily tied to real life, right? So already right there at the ground floor, you don't need to do that, right? You can really only be concerned with art that's completely abstract. So it doesn't need to dovetail with reality or the way reality presents at all. But a lot of people do think that art is trying to depict something, be vaguely representational or specifically representational. So because you are trying to represent things that have reality, the parts of art that can feel objective are actually just parts of reality that have objective qualities a lot of the time. So things like anatomy. Humans are beings, animals that present in reality, and they have an objective configuration. You know, there's anatomical qualities to them. Or there's objective things that can be said about light and shadow as they appear in reality, right? We only understand form as light revealing form. That's the only way we've ever seen form. Seen form, because we also feel form and things like that. And blind people can experience form, but they're not experiencing it through light. But because we are associating that with art making based on our particular prejudices and what we think art is, that part of art seems objective, that there is a correct way to think about form or to represent light or things like that. And it's like that all the way down. Everything that you might think is objective about everything that you might think is objective about art is actually some other aspect of life that has objective qualities. So light has scientific properties that are mysterious but immutable at a certain point. But again, an ingenious enough artist can realize that they don't need to honor those things, and they can go down their own rabbit hole of trying to depict something like form without any allusions to the way that light works in reality. I'm not smart enough to do that, but a smarter artist than I could. And the interesting thing is that if they nailed it, they could come upon something truly unique and utterly out there that people would recognize as amazing and build a whole career off of it. Do you have a favorite abstract artist? Me personally, no. Abstract just isn't my thing. And the part of me that longs for abstraction, there's plenty of abstraction in representational art, you know? In some sense, my favorite abstract art is particular passages in representational work. That's my favorite stuff. You should link the GoFundMe in the comments of the end of art. Oh yeah, I should. That's a good point. I'll do that once I'm off stream. Let me put that on my to-do list. Uh-oh. Give me a minute. I gotta send my wife something. Sad Drawing says, besides you, who would you recommend great graphite artists? I don't think you need to keep it to graphite. I think it's about identifying what you like about drawings and looking for things that represent that beautifully. So for me, a lot of my taste in graphite drawing comes from loving form. So it's not just other graphite artists that have greatly inspired me, but it's also like statues, like drawing marble statues and things like that, which are some of the most exaggerated, clearest ways to experience form and to understand form. But that said, some of my favorite graphite artists. So for the past, I'm just gonna throw in pencils in general, but Sargent's charcoal portraits, his charcoal figure drawings, fantastic. Michelangelo, of course, has some of the clearest expressions of form, both for what's a good idea in sketching and in finishing. Frank Frazetta is probably the artist that I've studied the most. He does beautiful things and all sorts of things, but I've always loved his little sketchbook graphite drawings. For living, there's so many. For living artists, check out like Marko Djurdjevic and Wes Burt were huge influences on me when I was young. They don't really do much. Well, they probably do still draw in pencil a lot. They just don't post it very much anymore, but they're trailing a long legacy of pencil drawings that you can find online if you look for their stuff from like the early aughts. Wes Burt, Marko Djurdjevic, Jeremy Inesio is awesome. Ernst Fuchs has some charcoal drawings that really, really inspired me. There's not that many. He's dead, but I forgot to list him. H.R. Giger, again, not pencil, but very inspirational for understanding form and representing it clearly. Many of the academic drafts people have beautiful study drawings, like Bouguereau's study drawings are beautiful. Jerome's study drawings are beautiful. Miles Johnson is great for studying graphite. He's alive, I hope. God, there's too many. There's so many to name. Carlos Fuente, yes. Andre says your work reminds me of Carlos Fuente. Carlos is a huge inspiration for me. My friend Ahmed Al-Douri, great pencil drawer. There's a lot of great graphite people out there. I mean, it's just such a universal tool, you know? Why study from statues versus life drawing? If you like form, one, statues hold perfectly still. That's useful. Two, they remove a lot of the confusion about local color. Because if you flayed a person alive, like I would not recommend this, but if you trapped somebody and unwrapped their skin, murdering them essentially, and then strung their skin up and on some makeshift stretcher bars, right? And you sort of turned it into this grotesque map of their living flesh, right? So it's like, don't do that, right? But if you did, you would see that they were highly variegated, that there's all sorts of local color changes, both value and hue-wise. Some parts are redder, some parts are bluer, some parts are more yellow. The skin has huge variations of actually like much lighter and much darker across different parts of the body. Not just from tanning, but also once you look at the difference between a tan person and a non-tan person, it's pretty crazy. So a white marble statue removes that. It removes all of that confusion and lets you focus just on the realities of form. And one of the places where that is felt the most is in the compression of the light. The local value and color changes that occur in the light shape on a real human person, they're very slow to teach you just how compressed the value range is in the light, because your eye is overreacting to all of those little value and color changes, which makes your eye perceive it as having a wider value and color range than it actually does. When you see a ostensibly quite exaggerated, right? Like when we sculpt something, we tend to push musculature and form further than is actually there on the subject. When you see a white marble statue that is still exaggerated, but all of that has been removed, all of the local color and value information has been removed and evened out, you will be shocked to see that there is barely any value change in the light. And yet it still seems formy and anatomical and impressive. And that is one of the greatest secrets in art. One of the greatest secrets in art. One of the most rarely understood, and even if understood, more difficult to get used to portraying secrets of portraying light and getting form. Statues are way better at explaining that than a real living person with all of those complications. That's why cast drawing in classical ateliers is one of the classic ways to learn how to draw. Hey Steve, what would be the perfect Christmas gift for an art teacher? Nothing weird though. I don't know. A great drawing. Your best drawing ever. See, the problem with art teachers is that they probably have all the materials you could hope to buy them already. Just give them the best drawing you've ever done and say, this one's for you, champ. In concept art, how common is the use of 3D sculpting and modeling? Very common. Very, very common. Hi, Steve. What do you say to people who say nothing is original? It's like, even if nothing was original, first off, how would you prove it, right? It's easy to just parrot things like everything is a remix and, you know, it's impossible to come up with anything completely alien or something like that, which I'm inclined to agree with in a lot of situations. That's not actually true, right? Like, that ignores things, for example, that are creative to fulfill criteria, right? Like, it's like everything is a remix might be true for insular artists who are professionals who only are ingesting other people's art or are just so obsessed with other people's art and art in general that that's going to be the vast majority of their conditioning factors. But take architecture, for example. What if there's just a specific set of criteria that need to be met? A particular environment, climate, building materials with creative problems that need to be solved. Do you really think the answer to that, with all of those conditioning factors, all of those rails, that is not original? What are you remixing there? You know, and there's all sorts of other, not edge cases, but industry cases, whole industries that are making demands that are not about remixes that I think do stretch, makes the idea that everything is a remix or that nothing is original a bit of a stretch, right? Media is heavily remixed, but again, it's going to be because the people who make media are often just media professionals and they base their life on ingesting media. So that's gonna happen a lot of the time. But, so let's say that's caveat number one. Caveat number two, how could you prove it, right? Like we don't have a brain map that we can use to prove what's remixed and what isn't. You know, we couldn't put originality on a silver platter and present it to someone objectively. And then the final point that I wanna make is, even if it's true that nothing was original objectively, what does it matter? Like things feel original. People who haven't seen the other conditioning effects will experience it as original. I don't understand. Like, what? Okay, like if we see it, yeah, nothing's original. What does it matter? What does it change? It doesn't change anything. If nothing was ever original, that was always true, right? It's not like it's true now. If that is the case, then it was always true. So that means that Michelangelo did nothing original, Gaudi did nothing original, Frank Lloyd Wright did nothing original. It's like, if that's what it is, if that's what it turns out to be, fine. I'm happy to cede it. But does that change the fact that their particular configuration was bravely presented, that even if it wasn't original, that they had the faith to push it through, that they had the confidence to stand behind this particular configuration of things. And if we're talking about and if this is, if the reason you're asking is because the AI people are saying that that's an argument for something, it's like, it's a non sequitur. Who cares? Again, it's non-substantive. Like, we're not going to invalidate everything everyone has ever done based on this thing that is actually not provable. And again, I think that it's very narrow-minded. Like I said, the architecture cases, I find it hard to believe that I think that if nothing is original is them alluding to an everything is a remix case, I think situations like that actually fight the everything being a remix case. It's like, I get it, you know, video essay philosophy is very cute, but just because fucking Star Wars is based on the hero's journey doesn't mean everything isn't original. Calm down. Calm the fuck down. And for the record, I'm as big a fan of video essay philosophy as anybody else is. But we can't let that guide our discourse as if just because someone has said a thing or two about it that it's true, you know? Things evolve. Maybe it'll come full circle and people in the future will consider cave paintings as high art. I don't think it's in the future. I personally consider cave paintings high art. The paintings at Lascaux are crazy. They're genuinely good. They're not good for back then. If you actually look at them, a lot of the paintings in Lascaux are like, you couldn't pull it off. They're genuinely good draftspeople. They have excellent lines, animation, motion. It's like, they're genuinely good. They're not good for back then. They're genuinely good. And plenty of art students alive today would struggle to nail that look or to achieve something so wonderful. What do you mean by high art? I mean, the good stuff. That's what I mean. When I say high art, I mean the end-all be-all, baby. It's experiential for you. Forget what other people think about it. But it's like, it's that feeling that settles upon you after you wing it off from the tip of your pencil, where it feels good to you, where you're like, ooh, now that's it. Oh yeah. Where execution, mood, temperament, belief, values, and of course, the rarest part, your taste, all align in once. You felt good doing it, you were in the right place while doing it, you did it for the right reasons, and in spite of yourself, amazingly, you think it's good. Now that's high art, baby. Gansham says, what about modern abstract art? What about it? What about it? Must I say the obvious? A lot of it is excellent. What is the difference between art you like and art you aspire to make? Seems both come from the same place. I think as time goes on, I think it's learned over time. I think it's difficult to parse out which is which early on. It comes from attempting it over and over and over again. Once you've done thousands and thousands of drawings, I think for most people it becomes very clear that even though you're a big fan of certain kinds of art, and even though you may get the feeling that you should be doing certain kinds of art, there's only certain kinds of art you will do. You'll sit down on a lark and pretend you're going to, not pretend, but you'll attempt to work like this person or put together a portfolio that looks like such and such. But then you'll find that you never finish those things, that you lose interest quickly, that you actually find them boring after a certain point, and all you're actually reacting to is your intense appreciation for the good version of it that you saw someone else do. And because you're an artist, you just conflate that with yourself. Whereas, you know, someone who isn't an artist wouldn't be inclined to do that. They would just love it a lot without reflecting, making it self-reflexive. And it's just a common mistake. There's no reason that mistake wouldn't happen. So as the years go on and you do more and more drawings, I think you get more used to being like, oh, right, that was just like an ego thing almost. Like I see that, that's great. I must be able to do that. I have to do that. I should do that. And then you'll find the line where you're like, oh, that actually doesn't align with my temperament. Like I'm more of a slow artist rather than a fast artist, or I'm more of a realistic artist rather than a stylized artist. For most artists, as time goes on, you develop a narrow track where you're like, narrow makes it sound negative, but it's a good thing actually, where you find that the special little snowflake that you are is actually only interested in doing kind of one fucking thing. You know, they actually have very specific taste, and it's the specificity of your taste that allows you to refine it to an insane level to then allow it to bubble up to the surface and blossom beautifully and be so refined that other people can really strongly appreciate it. And you can see this if you take a survey of your top 10 favorite artists. Most people's top 10 favorite artists will, either all 10 or most of them, they'll be people who they recognize as being excellent at sort of one thing. They may be good, competent at other things, but you wouldn't say they're great at everything, for the most part. And that's enough. It's enough to be excellent at one stateable, verifiable thing, and you don't need to be the best at everything else. And those people will still land in your top 10. You'll just think they're incredible, even if you can present their or understand their downfalls very clearly. Cynthia White says, as a statistician and sociologist, knowing when something I have analyzed or written really good comes from many, many years of experience analyzing data or writing papers. I think I didn't read a previous one. Cynthia says, I have not yet begun to draw, so I listen to this as someone who has been to many art museums, galleries, and seen folk craft. There are some art creations that just speak to me, to my soul. Thank you, Cynthia. I got your email, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't get to respond to it yet, but consider this my response to your email. Hello, welcome to have you. You sound like you have a very interesting background. Thanks for being around. Apologies to everybody that I don't get back to your emails. Again, I want to remind people, I read almost all of them to keep a pulse on what people are saying, get the info that people are sending me. People send me very useful information, especially in these AI days. People send me a lot of links and good things to read. It's all I can do to read it. At this point, it's very hard to find the time to respond to everybody. I get a lot of messages. But if you have something, if you just want to share with me, you know, feelings, a lot of people just write me saying like, oh my God, I was so depressed. I'm feeling so much better about art. Hooray, isn't art great? I always sit there and go, God damn, yes, art is great. I just don't have the time to write back a lot of the time. Apologies, truly. I don't like that. It hurts. It hurts my feelings. You know, I really like connecting with people and stuff like that. But I do read them. I'm not at the point yet where I can't read them. That day might come, you know, that day might come. There's definitely been days where I'm like, Jesus, I don't think I could even sit here and read these. But for now I can. I do read basically all of them, almost all of them, yeah. Even if you send me a pretty long thing, I usually wind up reading it. I can only be myself. Trying to make work that would have been made more authentically by someone else is a dissatisfaction with who I am. Indeed, indeed. What I found myself drawing consistently is totally unlike anything I've seen people care about. And that's fine. I think it's a good idea to go down those roads where you feel like, if you find yourself working on stuff or working in a way where you're like, man, this is not what people like, it may take longer to find a place that's broadly comfortable, like it gets you some attention or makes you some money, things like that. If you care about those things, it might take longer to get there. But I think in the long run, you'll be more satisfied with where you wind up. I know that's how it worked for me. You know, I do pretty, you know, a lot of people don't think that my stuff, sorry, give me a second. Sorry, important stuff. Oh no, I have the date wrong. What the heck was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. Yes, I do. I think it can be more satisfying in the long run. I had to grapple with that. My stuff, a lot of people just think my stuff is flat out gross. You know, a lot of people are just like, why do you do this? Why don't you draw beautiful things? Don't you know people want to see beautiful things? And it's like, I know people want to see beautiful things. I just don't really care much about what people want to see. I've had to grapple with that. I don't do fan art really. You know, I'm good for fan art like once a year or something like that. And I have to admit, yeah, it makes it harder. I know that my audience would be bigger if I was drawing, you know, Wolverine or something like that. But it's just not for me. You know, I have different demands from my practice, and does it slow down growth? Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. That's totally okay, you know? And I'm more satisfied with where I am now because I don't feel like anyone has any expectations of me that are outside of what I want to do. You get what I'm saying? Cyan Knight says, hey, Steven Zapata, what do you think of not safe for work artwork, e.g. people who make livings off doing weird DeviantArt stuff? Can you appreciate the message and skill level, or is it just glorified lust? Yeah, I would never go so far as to say it's glorified lust. That really, I mean, it's not for me. That's not what I do. I've never been very interested in it. Honestly, I've never engaged with that industry or community enough to really feel like I have an informed opinion about that stuff. I've never found myself wanting to do that. I've never had people strongly into that in my peer group. You know, I've just gravitated towards artists who do different kinds of things and things like that. But I think I'd be slow to say it's just glorified anything. I mean, not safe for work has been a part of art since before there was work, before there was jobs or anything that wouldn't like it. I mean, if we found the oldest painting on the oldest cave wall, I mean, you could be pretty sure it's going to be one of four things. It's going to be an animal. It's going to be a person it's going to be a figure who's half animal, half person, or it's going to be a penis or a voluptuous woman. And I'll bet $5,000 it's going to be one of those four things. That's going to be the oldest drawing out there. So I'd be slow to categorize it quickly. I mean, that's just a part of art that's been around forever. And I imagine that like any complex and storied part of art, there's going to be people doing it for different reasons. There's going to be people who do it because they experience the physicality of it and the lustiness of it as experientially important. You know, their personal experience of it is probably as profound and deep as you would think any other part of art could be. And then there's going to be other people who are doing it as a commodity, and that's it. You know, they're going to simply deal with it in a transactional way. You know, I'm helping you get off, give me money. I think that it's just such a vast field that it's inevitable that there's going to be those two parts of the spectrum interacting and the full gradation in between. I'd be very slow to categorize it. But again, I really want to cement again, like, that's just never been much my experience of art. So I don't really think I have a super informed opinion on not safe for work. Yeah, I think that'd be the big takeaway. My opinion's not the most informed there. I don't have a lot of people in my peer group who do that kind of thing, and that was never of much interest to me, personally. Basic Syphilis 8 says, Steven, your art is way better than the bullcrap Marvel and DC are putting out. Thank you, Basic Syphilis. A lot of people like that bullcrap. You can't knock what people like, you know? At least I don't think so, but I appreciate the sentiment. You know, it was very important for me to not feel betrothed into other people's ideas in my practice or other people's characters or anything like that. And honestly, it's like, I'm just the kind of person that I couldn't have done that if I wanted to. You know, it's just, I wouldn't be able to finish the drawings. I've tried, and it's just like, I lose interest on that stuff very quickly. You know, I can't quite do it. And then again, if you expand out the idea of fan art, like I've done plenty of fan art of John Milton's Paradise Lost. It's just that instead of doing something that's currently out there, I'm doing fan art of something that's, you know, God, how old is it? 600 years old or something like that. I always forget. When was Paradise Lost published? (1608). We're not quite at 600 years yet. No, 1667. 1608 was Milton's birthday. Cynthia White with the $2 donation. Just buying you that luxury cup of coffee. Oh, thank you. It's going to be extremely luxurious, Cynthia. It's going to be over the top luxurious. The ones that I like to buy with stream money, the little insulating sleeve is actually made of gold. Solid gold. 24 karat gold. It conducts heat amazingly quickly. I mean, I scorch my hands immediately whenever I touch it. It's fantastic. Actually, does gold conduct heat quickly or slowly? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm a stupid guy. I got a limited worldview. Joe says gold comes from the elves of Alfenheim, who allow it to conduct heat well using their wisp magic. Got it. Love science. I love objective science. It's so fascinating. Finish that new God of War. I might go back and do some of the extra challenges and the big areas that were optional. Playing Demon Souls now. Demon Souls remake. I did not know the more you spend on super chats, the more you are allowed to write. I wonder what's the cap. Could you write a full-length novel as a super chat? That would be interesting. I had no idea. That's true. I didn't know that either. Morcell says, if AI was built on ethical standards, don't you think that it would still threaten art as a practice, since it will render it near impossible to make a living with art, I take it, and stop new people to pursue it as it can't sustain them? The only people to practice it would be just for a hobby or any non-profitable activity. I think that that's totally possible. Yeah, for anyone who's heard me talk about making it ethically and things like that, it would absolutely still have problems, I think. And the thing is that, so when I'm discussing making it ethically, I'm trying to separate my personal prejudices and viewpoints from what I believe is actually practically actionable. So now the AI, the people who support AI might not agree with me that I'm doing that separation, right? But when I'm making these arguments, I am trying to do that. So I don't believe, the thing is that I can't see how, let me be clear on what I believe is ethical. It's like if a group of artists and a programmer threw in together and everybody consented and they wanted to create this thing based all on stuff that they've licensed or they've made, right? Disclaimer for everybody who wants to get mad, it wouldn't work, it's not enough, it needs to have everything. Yes, I agree, I think that's probably true. But let's say they could. Let's say it was a theoretically very close group of like 1,000 artists. They're all best friends, they all license stuff, they all have money, they put their own work into it, and they make this thing, right? As a reality in the world, I think they should be able to do that. If everyone's consenting and it's not stepping on anybody's stuff, there doesn't seem any practical or legal reason that they should not be allowed to do that. That does feel like it would be very strange, very dangerous to not allow them to do that. Now, as soon as they do something non-consenting, as soon as they're infringing, which is, if we push it out, that's the situation that we're in, I think that it needs to be fixed. It needs to be changed the same way that any infringement or theft or anything like that needs to be fixed or should be fixed or rectified. But if I add in my personal stuff, which I try not to bring up all the time, it's like, I would never be in that group. I'm not going to join that group of 1,000 artists that's going to put their stuff into the robot willingly. But that's not the discourse. That's not the argument, right? But let me be completely upfront, because in case anybody out there is confused about again, it doesn't matter what I think here. There's a part of this discussion that is the battlefield and another part that is not. And it doesn't matter what I think or what any individual thinks. That's not going to change. But in case anybody's confused, I saw somebody, I forget where, I saw on a Reddit, a subreddit somewhere. It might have been the Stable Diffusion Reddit or something like that. Someone said oh, Steven's disingenuous. If they make ethical AI, he's just going to move the goalpost or something like that. It's I will move the goalpost personally, or I will reveal my personal goalpost. Yes, I will definitely do that. I'm not going to move the goalpost legally unless it turns out that I'm not a lawyer. So if it turns out that there's deeper legal considerations that I didn't know about, that none of us knew about, then that's going to need to be addressed too. But let's say that the perfectly ethical version is made and that's it. There's no more war with stability or anything like that. Just those companies have been handled or they've gone ethical or anything like that. Let's say the only thing on the table is an ethical version. As soon as that happens, I will be the first person to stand up and say, I think it's bad for your creativity to use that fucking thing. You're shortchanging yourself. You're not believing in yourself. Drawing changes the way you see your world and is a spiritual endeavor, and the act of understanding how light and shadow and form present and making that stuff from scratch out of your head literally changes your brain. And again, to just show my cards, it's I do I do art because the changes that are available there basically feel like communion with God and become existentially salient. And it's everybody's right to completely ignore me on those points. People do art for different reasons. At that point, I will just take my personal little stand in my little corner, and I will just say what I believe, and whoever wants to join me can join me, right? But it's just not legally admissible. It's not a practical reason to prevent consenting artists from doing something that doesn't step on other people's toes, doesn't compensate them, doesn't hurt them. I know a lot of people just want me to be vehemently, violently against it, completely, abjectly, but it just wouldn't be intellectually honest for me. I'm not there. But for me personally, I wouldn't use them and I wouldn't go in with them, even if they were ethical. I think that it removes parts of the practice that it's just a lot of people aren't ready to hear. They aren't ready to hear, you know? Art has been my way of insisting that I exist. Yeah, it's like, it feels good. It's a justification all its own to just exert your creativity and to leave an artifact, to make an impact on reality. That's enough. No need to automate yourself out of it. I really don't think so. Oh, by the way, a company in my country made a huge mistake and hired a guy who wasn't an actual artist and he was using an AI and they regretted a lot. Why? What happened? You don't have to tell me. Send me a link or something. Email me a link. I'll check out a link. It's like trying to automate sports. For what reason? Indeed. Says, but since we were talking about it, how do you keep art motivation when people are constantly saying you're obsolete now? Only positive answers, please. On the deepest level, like, who cares what they say? Like, they'll quit. This is just their favorite toy for the past couple months. They'll move on. Don't listen to them. Just keep working. It's easy to say something like you're obsolete now. No one knows what's gonna happen. Where's the evidence of that? It's fine. It's fine. Just ignore them. Ooh, I cannot pronounce that name because I cannot read Cyrillic. I think that's Cyrillic. I don't know, but that's $5 Canadian Someone with a red and black emoji. Red and black emoji, thank you so much. Seeing your work makes me want to draw more in traditional media. Thank you for being an inspiration to us all. No problem, red and black emoji. Thank you so much for the $5. I will transmute it through chemical processes into delicious coffee. I'll get all of my decanters, my various labes, large domed glass structures into which I pour strange ichors, chemicals, and liquids. And into that roiling mass, I will at the end just drop your $5 Canadian. And then in a poof of chromatic smoke will be produced a delicious cup of caffeine. And I will ingest it, cackling in my laboratory. I've done it. I've done it. Red and black emoji is called Anastasia. Thank you so much, Anastasia. Oh no, Stephen has evolved from buying other brew to making his own. Yes, yes. In the old tradition of the Hermetics, surrounded by my rare minerals and arcane recipes, I toil in my fetid lab to produce coffee. It was not long before the people of the town realized that on Stephen's import manifest there were strange, if not disturbing, orders. Beans from far-off countries. Stones with particular requirements of specularity and mass. Suffice to say that upon reading some of these manifests, people became convinced that Stephen was up to not entirely wholesome pursuits within that homemade laboratory. And when word got out that perhaps there were streamed donations involved, well, the townspeople became worried indeed. Steven, you must narrate stuff, dude. I'm gonna, you know, I've been trying to write more lately. I'm trying to figure out what exactly, what form exactly I want my writing to take. I don't know yet. Because I don't really like, it's weird. I'm one of those people who it's like, I'd like to make a comic book, but not actually, you know? Like I have to admit to myself that I tend to either be writing or drawing, and I actually don't, it's difficult for me to muster the energy to mix them. It's like, once I've drawn something, I don't want to write about it. And then once I've written something, I don't want to draw about it. So I'm starting to realize in my old age that they're probably separate things. So now that I'm really starting to admit that to myself, which doesn't necessarily feel great just because, you know, the avenues for those things are pretty well trodden, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you should make a comic or something like that. I'm unfortunately having to look down the barrel of what actually I would like to do with my more creative writing. So I don't know, maybe they're just short stories that I don't want to put them out as books. That's the thing. I like performing the things that I write. So maybe they're just short stories that I put out as audiobooks or something like that. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. But I've been trying to do more of that. I've been working on a couple things here and there. I might put up some test readings on the Patreon maybe this month. I have one thing that I wrote a few pages of at the beginning of this month that I don't know, I liked it. And when I did like a test read of it, I liked the way the reading felt. So yeah, I might do a reading for the Patreon this month. We'll see. I got to be careful though, because if I'm really serious about the story, I got to be careful about putting it out there and just you know, once you put something out there, it's easy to like lose energy on it. You kind of like, you feel like you've gotten the reaction for it, and then it sort of lowers the ability. It can lower the energy sometimes to keep working on it. So I got to think about it. You're already combining them right here? I know. The thing is that I combine it just improvising here, but I would also like to stretch my legs on just, you know, not improvising, not riffing, but just writing stuff as well as I can. Or, you know, not as well as I can necessarily, but just like a cohesive written thing. But this definitely lets me get it out of my system. Neza with the 99R. Thank you so much. With the 0.99R for the record. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You are very kind. Your contribution is noted and it's keeping me alive. It's keeping me caffeinated and alive. It's very nice of you all to donate. You don't need to do that. I really appreciate it. I know it comes from the goodness of your hearts. Your undeniable generosity. You are, of course, my benevolent benefactors. I'm looking for my eraser. Guillermo Anjos. Hey, Steven, any words of hope for concept artists starting their careers in 2023? You have every reason to be hopeful. I know the AI stuff is frustrating and scary. It's serious. It is serious. Take deep breaths. Wait. Don't rush things. Don't rush into any decisions. Don't quit your career. Don't quit your dreams just yet. I know it sucks. Take it from me. I think there's good reason to stay the course, to keep working on your skills always. Now, mind you, I mean that in the sense that even if everything went completely to shit, you should still work on your creativity and your design knowledge and drawing, because it's good on its own. It's worth it on its own. It changes your life. It really does. Even if you have difficulty making money with it and things like that. And I know that that's small consolation to people who have yet to make money off of art. You know, it really, for a lot of people, it really gets in your head. But I mean it that way. But I also mean things are going to happen. And we just don't know what the outcome's going to be. And if things go our way, you're going to regret not having kept up with your art, you know? Just take deep breaths. Just wait a little longer. Just a little longer. I wish I could, it's not my position to put other people's business out there. All I can say is there's stuff on the horizon. Now's not a good time to quit. That kneaded eraser is on its last legs. Don't you ever say that to me again. Don't you ever talk crap about my kneaded eraser again. I mean it. You don't know what it's been through. You don't know how pliable it is, how much graphite it's sucked up, the way it can take any shape. Don't you ever crap talk my kneaded eraser again. I mean it. I know I'm normally a calm guy, nice guy, agreeable. You're taking it too far. Don't you ever talk crap about my kneaded eraser. They're self-cleaning. Look. See, look how much cleaner it looks after just a bit of kneaded eraser. The Flurinator with $5. Thank you so much, the Flurinator. I appreciate it. You're very kind. I'm going to take the $5 that you gave me, and I'm going to take scissors, and I'm going to cut it up into extremely thin little strips, and then I'm going to rub horsehair glue all over my body, and I'm going to stick the little strips onto me. I'm going to see how much of my body I can cover. And the truth is that I'm not going to be able to cover much. Just won't be able to cover much. It's just one bill. I guess I could take it out in 5 singles, and then I'll cut those up into the thinnest little sheets that I can, and then we'll see how much coverage we can get out of that, you know? How's the fundraising? It's going well. Go check it out. The link is in the description. The Protecting Artists from AI Technologies GoFundMe by the Concept Art Association has surpassed the halfway point of their ask already. After only 5 days, $138,598. And that's all thanks to you guys, the community, the artistic community. Not my community specifically. I mean, just like this is people from so many parts and niches of the artistic community coming together and donating to that fund. It's really great to see. It brings a tear to this old man's eye. Adam says, discovered you on TikTok. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That is so sad. I forget that those TikToks are sitting there. I took TikTok off of my phone. It's like I haven't thought about it in a long time. They'll just sit there, forever doing damage to my reputation. That's fine, that's fine. Have you seen the EU artist GoFundMe? What do you think of it? Yes, I have seen it. What do I think of it? Pending. I just don't know much. I don't know too much about their specific plan, but I just want to say information about their plan is being acquired. We are not out of communication with them. But I do think it's indicative of every jurisdiction is going to have to might wind up having to do this on their own, you know, because laws are different everywhere. So I think wherever there's a vibrant artistic community, I get the feeling that everyone's going to have to go through this on their own to a certain extent. They're going to need to clean it up in their country. The Little Things in Life says, I donated even though I'm not from the US. I just hope it will influence the rest of the world too. I think it will. I think it will. Hello, Ashish. I'm good. How are you doing? Guys, I gotta go to the restroom. I will be right back. The year is 87039, new nonlinear time. It's been 50,000 years since Steven Zapata's final art stream, but we still live in a golden age defined by the gifts his stream bestowed upon mankind. Faster than light travel, eternal life, Steven cloning, and the keys to a truly galactic human civilization. My name is Stave Satapaz, a reminder clone of Steven Zapata, an exact reproduction of his personality as constructed by an AI compiling millions of hours of his original art streams. By all accounts, I'm exactly like the original Steven's public persona, just more muscular, exactly as he would have wanted. I travel the stars on my light tracer, a dream of Steven. My crew is, of course, all clones of Steven. Some of my officers are reminders like me, but not all. Some are bioclones, and yet others are aspectoids, clones who, instead of trying to capture his full essence, amplify a particular portion of the original Steven's personality. We've spent hundreds of years drawing, exploring, and philosophizing while snaking our way through the stars, spreading the good word of design. But we've had another, secret mission as we've cruised the cosmos. I, seek information on the legendary originals, Steven Zapata's true drawings that he flung wide across the stars at the end of his life on Earth, never to be seen again. My crew thinks I'm looking for them for the same reason all the other madmen do, because they would be valuable beyond all reason. But they don't know what I know, that a critical mass of originals in the hands of a trained reminder can provide a psychic link to the original Steven mind. Once I collect enough, I'll be able to fulfill my destiny and achieve psychological continuity with the original Steven. And through me, he will live again, to usher in golden ages of art forever. Drawing Ascendant, the eternal chronicles of Steven Zapata. Lasting Legacy 1, Epic 1. All right, we're back. I let it out. I did what was needful. We're back in the hot seat. Back in the hot seat on stream. Back in the hot seat on stream. Who needs to go to art prison? I think it's me. Anybody who needs to go to art jail, you go right now. If you've done a bad thing, if you didn't draw good, you go to art jail right now. Hand yourself in, turn yourself in. If you've been drawing bad, you turn yourself in right now. You go to art jail. You go to art jail right now, and you tell them who sent you. What do you think about skewing our art and using watermarks as a short-term prevention from theft? I know there's people out there trying to develop techniques, arcane and esoteric techniques for artistic protection. Experiment. I know some organizations are paying attention to what might be possible there. And sometimes when people talk in a sort of stilted way, it's because they're trying to not let on everything that they know. Your tech bros are way smarter in tech than your artists. It's not just artists looking at it. It's not like all tech bros are monolithic and they all agree with what the AI companies have done. I think that that's an unfortunate assumption about the narrative. Simply not true. A lot of tech bros actually look at what companies like Stability did and they're outraged. They're like, why the hell would you do that? You can't do that. So it's not just artists looking into the tech questions like that, just to be clear. They will completely crush your artist prevention methods. An easy thing to say. You can type things like that with no way to prove it and no knowledge, which of course you do not have. You have no foreknowledge of what will or will not work. Things are going to play out how they're going to play out. It almost sounds like you're saying, don't even try. I think I will try. Lava Worm says, don't throw shade at the tech people. Not everyone in there likes to pretend copyright and intellectual property doesn't exist. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, gotta tell you, since this whole thing has happened, I have met a lot of tech people who are on our side, for sure. Hey, Lo-Fi Sketches, what's up? It's crazy how someone made an AI comic book. I mean, that's only the beginning. Strange times. Things are only going to get wilder. I think an AI comic book will look very quaint very soon. Very quaint. Kwa says, hi, Steven from SoCal ACCD. Hello, Kwa. I hope you're doing well at Art Center. Get rest. Get rest, and for the love of God, don't drive up that hill tired. Take care of yourself. If you're going to pull an all-nighter, pull it at school. Pull your all-nighter at school so that you can just stay there and then take a nap on the couch. Don't drive up that hill tired. Why will it look quaint? What do you mean? I think the idea that we're amazed, like what Andy B said, that it's crazy that someone made an AI comic book. I think that very soon it'll sort of settle in for people how broad this technology is. And it'll be like, oh, I mean, it's not that crazy. It turns out there's been 1 billion comic books made with AI, and a lot of them are automatically generated. There's no person behind them. And then we'll move on from the comics. I mean, a comic may be difficult to make, but I do think they'll make movies, whole movies and things like that. So I think that will look crazier. And beyond, I think they'll probably be capable of making things like VR environments that you can sort of inhabit and things like that. I think that the comic book thing will look pretty quaint pretty soon. Robert says, I long for the times when this chat wasn't constantly talking about AI. You know, vibes change, things come and go. It won't always be like this. Push is gonna have to come to shove. The only thing that's assured in life is change. You know, I thought for maybe a second today wouldn't be about AI. And I don't think it is in some grand sense. But, you know, I was like, man, if I just make the title Happy Drawing, that's it. People will know we're not doing AI here today. But it's just, of course, we're going to talk about it, you know? It's just extremely relevant. And it's on everybody's mind. People are experiencing strong emotions about it, feeling confusion. It's just another art question. Categorically speaking, it's the same as somebody asking me, what kind of pencil do I use? It's an art question. Steven, what is your goal when you paint and draw? What is the drive that keeps you going? Is it coffee? Coffee helps keep me awake sometimes. I actually have reduced my caffeine consumption lately. I don't know yet if that's permanent or merely an experiment. But what is my goal when I draw and paint? Well, if you see me doing it here, I'm doing it for myself. So I'm not doing it for work or for a specific reason or something like that. I'm just drawing for pure fun. And in these contexts, that is my only reason. How to put it? If drawing makes you feel extremely good on its own, which is not the case for everybody, and that can change for people, but at the place where I'm at and how long I've been doing it, drawing on its own makes me feel great. And that's enough. It doesn't need any other reason. I do it for the most selfish, narcissistic reasons possible, which is that it makes me feel good. And I really don't need much more than that. Bay Zed says, just asking for opinion, but what do you think will be the next evolution of art, post-digital art, if it's not AI? VR or AR? I don't know. I really don't know. My hope is that it would be a personal revolution. I don't know what it would take for that to actually happen, but it would be nice if the next big change in art, I think, is that people would sort of do it with more knowledge of the interiority of it and for more personal reasons. I honestly think that if that increased in scope, it would produce an actionable change, like a noticeable change in the vibe around art. I know that that's super mushy, and I'm not quite sure how to put it into words, but that's what I would hope. I think that's more what we need rather than just, I'm like super, I can't imagine anything more boring than the future of art being new markets. It's like AR, VR, AI, NFT, whatever fucking acronym you want to add on to it. If the practical, substantive portion of what that acronym does to transform art is that it opens a new goddamn market where you can compete with other people and be influenced by what they do and turn away from your own creativity so that you can try and do what sells and make as much money as possible. It's like, I can't imagine anything more boring. That is so boring. It's got to be something else. That doesn't mean it will be something else. I'm saying that that's just what I would like. in some sense, if that is all that is happening with art evolution, nothing has changed at all. Doesn't matter what tech is being employed. If it's just people forgetting why they fell in love with art and trying to do what's popular in order to gain advantage in a market, then the more things change, the more they stay the same. Alan Garcia says, Steven, who are your biggest art heroes or biggest influences? What genres or franchises inspire you to draw? Biggest heroes are like Frazetta, Sargent, William Blake, Carlos Fuente. It's almost like, it depends what part of me you're asking about. Like I have different heroes for craft and content. Does that make sense? And it's deeper than that. I have different heroes for the way I want to craft images versus the content I want in my images versus the way I want to feel while I make my images. Art is so vast and nuanced that there's no hero like quite does it, the whole thing for me, you know? Also, I'll be honest, I don't think about my heroes very much, you know? When people ask me about that, I like to say people's names so that people can go look at them and discover them and things like that. But I'll be totally honest with you. I don't think about my heroes very much. I really don't. I'm personally, art-wise, I'm very interested in being very narcissistic and inward-facing and a navel-gazer. That's very, very interesting to me. Being completely obsessed with myself is very, very interesting to me. I know I have a lot of influences and things like that, and I've looked at a lot of their work, and I don't do much study or copy these days. I used to do it a lot. You know, I used to spend a lot of time in my sketchbook reacting to the work that I saw from other people. But at a certain point, you really need to stop hoping that the answer is out there or in being like another person. And you've got to look at what the hell is in here. You know, as saccharine and almost maudlin as it may sound, it's like, that is the only thing that counts in art. You've got to figure out what the heck is going on inside of you. Why do you like Frazetta? Just because of how much of a liar he was. I'm really inspired by how willing he was to lie about his process and how he worked and just build his own legend and make sure that people thought incorrect things about him and that he was always mysterious and sort of just really, really fluffing himself up. Super inspirational for that stuff. I always, whenever I'm about to like say something true about myself, I always pause and I'm like, what would Frazetta do? And then I tell a lie that makes me sound cooler, smarter, more legendary than I actually am. Please explain. No. What are some famous lies of Frazetta? Okay, look, there's one thing that's true about Frazetta, which is that he was an incredible artist. I mean, I'm being a sarcastic jerk, but he's clearly amazing, and I have copied him a lot. You know, I spent a lot of my time in my sketchbook in my youth, like copying like his little sketches in his sketchbooks and being like, what magic is going on here that makes his different from mine and things like that. And his paintings have been amazingly influential. He's one of my favorite artists, without a doubt. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about I'm not going to shorthand it for anyone and spread misinformation or anything like that. But he is also a great education. I'm being completely serious right now. Not every artist is interested in doing this, right? But it's a part of art, which is to build your legend, which is art is artifice, right? And the artifice can extend everywhere, right? And it's an unfortunate part of art, or a nice one, depending on how you are. Okay, a lot of people might understand it better with Andy Warhol. If you know anything about Andy Warhol, you probably already understand that Andy Warhol was very aware of his brand, and that he very specifically branded himself and told stories to increase the power of his brand and to make himself more interesting and stuff like that. Not to make an invidious comparison here, all right? Like I said, I basically love Frank top to bottom. He's one of my favorite artists. But what Andy Warhol did, he was doing the same, in my opinion. You don't need to take it from me. The thing is that a lot of people don't. There's tons of stuff out there about Frank. You can read tons of literature about him. You only need to read the stuff he said about himself to piece things together. But there's a lot of great information out there. One of his best friends, a guy named Fritz, has a great blog that will take you forever to read, but I read like all of it. Someone who was one of his best friends has a blog called Fritz Frazetta, where he tells tons of stories and has photographs proving he's one of Frank's best friends, him hanging out at his house, asking him questions about drawings like that. And that blog will give you a lot of information. I'm not. It's just that people don't understand how okay legend building is in art, right? And there's nothing in the rule book that says you need to be perfectly sincere about everything or not hide things and things like that. It's part of the art. It's part of the magic, right? You can go look into it yourself if you're interested. Fun stuff. Anyone else's stream mess up? Yeah, I saw for some reason my stream almost dropped out there for a second. I'm back. Looks like it's all good now. YouTube is telling me my stream health is poor currently, but it looks like I'm sending all of the bits. Tens of thousands of bits a second. Everything look better? Nah, it says it's back up to excellent. All right. Nutri says, biggest pet peeve is people asking, are you going to finish it? Every time I post a sketch, sometimes the sketch is finished. I agree. It's up to nobody but you when a drawing is done. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's up to no one but you when a sketch is done. I'm doing Broadway moves under my desk. Do you play instruments, Steven? No. Never had any kind of musical talent in that regard. I'm a world-class singer, but I can't play any instruments. Good night, Yare. Do you sculpt? Sometimes. Sometimes. Not heavily. Do a little bit of 3D sculpting, do a little bit of traditional sculpting. Never anything serious. That looks so sick, man. Thank you. What's a good way to study highlights and reflections? Well, the important thing about highlights and reflections is, and I mean, if you really want a robust understanding, it's about understanding what they are. Like, not just little pocket moves about what they might feel like or where they generally wind up. You can learn those things just by studying references shape to shape, but it's not going to line up when you try to do different kinds of subjects or things like that. You got to understand what they are. So, you know, look into the optics of it. Understand the difference between diffuse and specular reflection. It can be a pretty intense subject. I mean, the trick is, honestly, it's that you get the course. That'll fix your brain right up. That'll fix your brain. Get all those bad form ideas out of your head. What are you snurfling for, dog? Hold on, I gotta give my dog her cookie. Time flies by when you're doing streams. Time flies by when you're doing streams, people. I will tell you what. Come here, pup. Come on and get your cookie now. Ooh, I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need, and I don't care about the prices underneath the Christmas tree. I just want my dog cookies. The mighty cookie. That segue was something to behold. That's what we do here. We behold segues. Gaze ye upon my segues and despair. Goodbye, Abron. Nick Ravioli says, any opinion or advice regarding that awful discrepancy between how awful digital feels compared to traditional media? Annoys the piss out of me that nobody manages to capture that feeling. I really do think that because in our era we're used to digital, we sort of wrongly assume in our guts that digital is like good, that it is at a high level at this point. And if you pull back, you got to realize most of our digital drawing tools are not even 30 years old, and they haven't actually been developed for drawing, really. They were photo editing softwares. The first ones that were specifically for drawing were like Clip Studio Paint, Procreate, and those are younger than something like Photoshop, which is going on. Well, Photoshop's got to be what? Going on 40-ish years old? When did Photoshop come out? Was the first one in the 80s or in the 90s? So they're very young. They have not been optimized for people who draw. And our gut feeling that they're good is not true. They're crap. They're crap for drawing, and it's barely appropriate to say that they have any sensitivity. So they'll get better. But they're really crude tools right now, actually. Most of the broadness of the digital workflow comes from the photo side. The photo side achieved the ability to replicate in pixels just about anything, right? Just from facts of resolution and things like that, you could work on a photo of an oil painting or something like that. But that's it. It jumped right to the end. The fact that you can replicate something pixel for pixel. It has made no concessions to the nicety of process, the sensitivity of the tactile feeling. Nothing. It's hard to talk about because once you key into it, it's very clear that it's not just far away from what traditional feels like. It's not even trying. It's not even actually trying. It might get there, but no one is even really on the track. No one's actually pushing for that. Even drawing tools like Procreate and Clip Studio Paint, it's like they're already on the parallel track of focusing on introducing new tools that have no traditional analogs. Again, this is all fine, right? It's totally fine to go with this. But for example, like adding Liquify, or they pulled back on this, but adding AI art generation into the tool or things like that. They're trying to improve by adding parallel things. And very few people are focused on trying to replicate the intense sensitivity of traditional media. To move towards that would be something very unlike the moves that we see them making. For example, it would be like Wacom reworking their tablets from the ground up so that you could use a tablet with a tool that was like a brush, like a paintbrush, where it had bristles and every bristle was like a fiber optic cable or something like that. And the tablet surface was not sensitive to one digital point at the end of the stylus, but to multiple hundreds of input points at once. That would be moving towards the intense sensitivity and tactile nature of traditional, and that's just not what these companies are interested in. So I know I just ranted there for a lot, but I think about this a lot. It's just, they're not even playing at that. They're not even trying to get close. They're trying to make things more convenient, but no one is actually right now interested in moving the extremely crude. They're tricking you into thinking they're not crude, but once you get used to drawing traditional, you start to see how crude the tools really are. It's just like 1 point at a mathematical number of opacity and flow with like maybe a brush texture stamp. It's like, it's Etch-a-Sketch shit compared to where things will wind up and what is actually possible. No one's actually moving towards that level of sensitivity, you know? How do you think if artists will be replaced by AI, artificial intelligence? I got a whole 45-minute video about that. Check out my video, The End of Art, an argument against image AIs. That'll tell you my opinion on how it could replace artists. Why that wouldn't be a good thing. Working in some bigger value moves here. Solidifying some primary and secondary shapes. Doing this step while I'm squinting my eyes, if you notice. That way I can just see if the changes that I'm making are actually legible on the primary shape level. It's easy to spend a lot of time smudging around with the blending stick, and because it produces such low contrast moves, you're adding a bunch of stuff that actually doesn't impact the drawing. So if you just smudge, it forces you to press a little harder. It's a mechanical function. You're automatically going to press harder so that you see something change through the veil of your squinted eyes, and that'll make it more likely that you're making useful generalized moves. And I try to never worry about ruining the drawing. It's like, it's okay to ruin it. I didn't spend that long on it. That's nothing precious. If you worry about ruining the drawing, you'll shy away from pressing as hard as you need to a lot of the time. Hi, Steven. Love your art, especially the more macabre pieces. Thank you so much, Indo. I'm curious, do you have any preferences when it comes to the pencils you use, or are you not very picky in that regard? I am less picky about pencils. I use all sorts of pencils all the time, and I mix their purposes all the time. I'm more picky about paper. Paper I get really picky about. I personally think the differences in pencils is kind of subtle, and that pencils that one person loves, it's almost guaranteed another person is going to hate them, because People don't like the scratchiness of one. Some people prefer it scratchy. Some people prefer it smooth. Some people think it's too textured. It's not. It crumbles too much. It's like there's all these little things to get nitpicky about with pencils. I personally would not worry about your pencils. Even a number 2 school pencil is good enough to do very complex drawings. Paper, on the other hand, I do get picky about. I basically can't work on a paper that I can work with any pencil. I basically can't work on a paper that I don't like. Not everybody's like that. So I would invest more of your time in it personally, rather than like buying tons of pencils and experimenting with them. I would buy papers and experiment with different papers and see which papers work for you. I like smooth paper. That's not everybody. Some people can only get good results on rough paper, but I would test them out. Try all sorts of different types of papers and look for which ones really just vibe with your temperament, you know? What's up? I'm new here. Dude, welcome. Dude, nothing's up. We're just drawing, chatting. I'm getting a little hungry, actually. I'm probably going to get going soon. Whoa! Been streaming for 3 hours and 9 minutes. It's going to be getting to lunchtime here soon. Do you have experience with soft cotton paper? I'm not sure what you mean by soft cotton paper. I've used like cotton vellum a lot. I use bristle paper personally. I like smoother, harder papers that don't have a lot of give. That's because I like to make most of my textures on my own, but a lot of people find that super annoying. They prefer to get a little texture for free from the paper, or they don't like the lack of grit. You know, there's no bite where the pencil goes in. But I like the kind of smooth, glassy feeling, actually. The big thing, I think the big thing is just don't use cheap paper. I would give that advice to everybody. Buy good paper. Use the good stuff. I think cheap paper doesn't let you go all the way, and you never like practice the top of your drawing range. I think cheap paper really limits people. But once you're buying, it doesn't, you know, most paper is cheap. Like my favorite paper is like, it's $15. It's $15 to $20 for 15 sheets. So it's like $1 sheet. That's not all that expensive. Paper in general is not super expensive. I just mean the really cheap like sketch stuff or the cheap sketch paper that gets bound into sketchbooks. I personally find that stuff actually to be very limiting. Just doesn't let you go very far. Which paper is that? What qualifies as cheap paper? This is a generalization because you can find good paper on sale and certain brands will sell great stuff cheap, but don't take, you know, I haven't really done the math, but my gut is telling me right now it's like you should be paying like 80 cents a sheet or over. I think if you're paying 80 cents a sheet or over, you can be pretty confident it's good paper. So most sketchbooks that are bound in sketchbook paper, bound sketch paper, are not going to fulfill that. It's like 100 sheets and it costs like $8 or something like that. It's like, I think 80 cents to $1 per sheet is good paper, or more. You know, I mean, stuff obviously does get really good, though often those papers are for other reasons other than drawing. Like, for example, a lot of people like drawing on printmaking paper, and that stuff's really expensive. That stuff can be like $5 a sheet or more. But printmaking paper is not that expensive because it's specifically better for drawing on. It's expensive because printmaking paper goes through hell. There's all sorts of printmaking techniques. They get bathed in water, you know, if you're doing like if you're dyeing paper and things like that. So it needs to be able to just get completely soaked top to bottom and then dry out to normal flat sheet. when it gets put through a printing press, it's run through steel parts. You know, it goes over rollers, it gets literally pressed, it gets squished by steel plates and things like that. So printmaking paper is expensive, and a lot of people like drawing on it, but not because it's specifically better for drawing. Well, they draw on it because they like it better for drawing, but it's not expensive because it's better for drawing. It's expensive because it needs to survive printmaking techniques. You get what I'm saying? Stone paper is waterproof. I think I've tried stone paper. I don't like stone paper or the Yupo paper, which I find similar, because it only lets you draw in one direction. I don't know if you've noticed that. There's a grain to it. So it's like you can pull strokes, no problem, but if you push a stroke, it gets stuck, and I hate that. I can't do that. But they're good papers. They're cool effing papers. They're just, for me, the fact that there's a grain to it, because I like to snake in all directions when I draw, that's always going to hold me back on those. I meant the one you're using now. This is marker paper. This is Bienfang Marker Paper. It looks like that. I'm going to start wrapping up here, actually, guys. I'll hang out for a bit and chat. Say goodbye. I'm getting hungry. Drawing always makes me work up an appetite. Got feedback to do. Got to go do some feedback for the curso. You get the course. Do you get anxious when working with expensive materials because you're scared to waste on a bad drawing? That's something you need to get over very, very quickly. I experienced that too when I was young, but you really got to get over it. I mean, I'll tell you what, I draw a lot. The problem is not running out of paper, it's having too much. I feel proud of myself every time I fill a pad, even with crap. That's not the problem most artists have. You gotta get over that. It's not real. You're very lucky if you actually waste paper. The truth is that most people can't get through a pad. They don't draw enough. You don't gotta worry about that. Use the good stuff, that's what I would say. It's like scared to waste it on a bad drawing. It's like, you should be doing bad drawings. You'd be lucky to do enough bad drawings to waste a pad. It's like, that means you're a good artist. That means that you're doing it, that you're getting through it. The problem most people have is that they don't fucking draw. Enjoy your lunch, Steven. I will. I really will. Do you have a Discord or something similar for the course? There's a community in the back of house for the course. It's not a Discord. It's a closed community built into the back of the house of the course, and that's where I do my feedback. People post their assignments in there. I note them up. Steven, have you tried glassine paper yet? That one used on food like burgers and so on? No, I don't think so. I don't think I've tried it. Maybe I have. I've tested a bunch of little things in art stores without really knowing what I'm testing. Tim says, since I'm happy and you are happy, can you do the thing? Somebody that has just seen the monster that you are drawing? I don't know what you mean by that, Tim, but I'll tell you what. Anybody who has seen one of the monsters I've drawn, bottle that and send it to me. I'd love to see him. Never seen him. Never had a visitation. Never had a hallucination. Like, my dear monster friends, where are you at? What do I have to take to see you guys? I don't think they're coming. I think I spend enough time making them vivid like this that my brain can't conjure them or is unwilling to see them. Never seen one. Do you ever plan on showing commercial work here? No, I can't do that. You can't, I mean, the vast majority of commercial work, you can't stream it or show it online or anything like that. You can't be doing that. Steven, what's the stream schedule looking like now? I'm still doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, even though I should be moving it to Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. But thing is that for the rest of the month, it's probably going to be punctuated because I'm moving now. So I got a lot on my plate. There's a lot of things going on. Moving's a big one, though, and the holidays and all that. So it's going to be a little punctuated for the rest of the month. But, man, can't wait to get to the new apartment and have a dedicated space for streaming and all of that. It's going to let us do a lot more stuff. I have a lot of exciting plans. And, but yeah, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know. And once I move, Friday is not a problem anymore because my wife will have a separate space as well for her to work from home on Fridays. So I'll be able to stream without worrying about her taking calls and things like that. What type of commercial work do you do? I've done all sorts of stuff. My God. Everything. Concept art for all sorts of different stuff. Video games, movies, board games, advertising. And then outside of concept art, every other kind of thing. Production art, marketing art, storyboards, lots of advertising art, stuff that's gone to print, stuff that's been all digital, stuff that's gone into games, stuff that's gone into everything. I've designed a lot of theme parks, restaurants, museum exhibits, live experiences, concert shows. I've done like everything except like designing toys and doing tattoos. I've done a lot of stuff. Nick Ravioli says, how long do you see yourself streaming? Would you consider it a viable and or long-time project? I think so, because I've been doing it for a long time. I mean, I've been streaming since... I've streamed art online since 2015. It's just that none of y'all were around. I spent plenty of time streaming to an audience of like 3 people, you know? And then there was a long time where I'd say my normal watchers were like 10 people, something like that. 2016, 2017. And, you know, it went off and on, you know. I did it on a now defunct platform called Beam. You know, there used to be a platform called Beam. I used to stream on Beam a lot. Did it on Twitch for a while. Then moved to YouTube once it was clear that I was doing most of my video stuff on YouTube. So yeah, I think it is viable long term because I've been doing it, what I consider to be long term, you know. If by viable you mean monetarily, I have no idea. I mean, I don't make my money off YouTube. I make my money off of things connected to YouTube, like the course and tutorial videos and stuff like that, but I certainly could not live off of YouTube money. And I don't know if that'd ever be possible. And I don't have that on my radar. I don't feel like it aligns with me. You know, I don't want a life where I like have to... I want to make videos when it's important. Like I made the AI video because it was important. I felt like I wanted to make it. I needed to make it. I'm not the kind of guy who's going to make videos because, oh, it's another week, so another video, you know? Streaming works for me because it's not like that. It's like I'm drawing anyway. I just get to chat while I draw. I don't know if that could ever reach a level on YouTube where it would be monetarily viable on its own. I don't think about it. I don't really think about it. Mr. Sun says, been enjoying the streams. You're now my second favorite New York streamer. Many blessings to you. It's an honor. It's a bit sad that most of that goes to a vault, all the commercial work. Yeah, it is a bit sad. It was one of the reasons that I wanted to get away from commercial work. It really started to bother me that I would work my ass off for a whole year and do hundreds of pieces of art. And to like the public or to my friends or something like that, you know, you could show your friends, you know what I mean? Like your close friends, but like online friends and the public, certainly in contexts like this, I could have been working my ass off making art for a year. And then if they said like, what have you been doing? I'm like, I can't show you. A lot of the time I can't even tell you. I'm not even allowed to tell you what I've been doing this whole time. I stopped being okay with that at a certain point. I was okay with it for a long time, but it started to bug me after a while. Word to ground zero. Being homeless can save your life. Man, what's going on between you guys? Can Steve Zapata be the best teacher for Falls 3616 given my low income background? I don't know how to answer that. I've got to charge for my teaching at this point. And that's all I can do. Do you mean like, can we be aligned on our principles because I didn't come from money? Do you mean by that? I don't know. I don't think that necessarily. There's going to be plenty of people who come from moneyed backgrounds who are great teachers, and the opposite. And there's going to be people who don't come from moneyed backgrounds and are great teachers, and the opposite. I don't think the monetary background necessarily precludes someone from connecting to you, you know? I think that's a little classist, you know? I try to never be classist against rich people. I always try to remind myself to accept rich people for who they are, you know? Yeah. If you start streaming manga style art, then yeah, you might be able to make a lot of money out of it. I'm never gonna do that. I would never, yeah. I mean, that's for other people, but I'm never gonna change my style. If I were to change my style for monetary reasons like that, there but for the grace of God go I. That would be the beginning of a dark fall. It might feel good for a while. The first peak in money might feel good, but that's never, at least not for people like me, that's not going to pan out in the long term. It's just going to make you resent art. You can't fake it. You can pretend you're faking it for a bit, but after a while, all that stuff catches up with you. And before you know it, you hate drawing, and then it's over. Then it's really over. I base everything about what I do in my practice on making it more likely that I will love doing it forever. That's my number one priority. It's not easy, but that's my number one priority. Weirdly, top secret military engineers will agree with the feeling. Yeah, it's NDA life, you know? It's hard. It sucks. It's not for everybody. Some people don't care because they're not really interested in like showing their work to people in general. So they are just fine in the NDA life. It's like they don't feel like they're missing anything, but it's not for everybody. Which type of concept artwork was most enjoyable for you? On any big project, there's stuff that's fun and there's stuff that's a grind. So it's not really about a kind of task or an industry in particular. For me, it really just came down to like, today's part of the job is fun and today's part of the job is a drag, you know? Really complex projects just have so much going on that unless you're like able to pick your task, like if you're the boss, like if you're an art director, and you can assign to yourself whatever you want, unless you're in that situation, you're gonna do stuff that's fun and stuff that isn't fun. I found a lot of the, some of my favorite stuff was stuff that surprised me, stuff that I wouldn't have thought would be my favorite parts. Like, I really liked the team parts. I actually found myself really enjoying meetings. I used to do a lot of drawings in meetings to get ideas out quickly. Big meetings, like big rooms with, you know, dozens of people working together and spitballing ideas and brainstorming, really high energy, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Doing drawings in those meetings actually wound up being probably the most fun I ever had doing art. In those situations, in the commercial situations. When they went wrong, boy, did they go wrong. But when it was good, it was so much fun. That's a really unique experience doing that. So you have never tried manga style? No, not really, no. I don't quite understand. I don't try styles. I'm not that kind of artist. On jobs, I've been by necessity, they've told me it has to be this style. And there's no trying there. I'm going to get it fucking right because I'm on the job. But that's surgical. I gather references on the style. I break it down academically. I'm like, these shapes, yes, these shapes, no, these colors, yes, these colors, no, these lines, yes, these lines, no. And then I do it. But I've never been the kind of person to like try a style. That's not me. I don't think I kind of like philosophically disagree with that. Like a style, your style is your own. You manifest it naturally. It's an aggregate of the entirety of your life experience and everything that you've played with in art. I shy away from that instead. If I find that I'm doing anything affected or consciously trying to replicate a particular look, I've always found that to be undesirable and actually holds me back. My number one priority is drawing as naturally as possible. And everything else handles itself. Like, I don't need to, like, some people must think that a drawing like this, which I would say looks like a Steven, that I'm like consciously trying to manifest this style. And I think that that's a fundamental misunderstanding about how a lot of people experience their work. I'm not consciously trying to manifest that look. That look is how I draw. That's just naturally the way my hand moves, the kinds of shapes that it makes at this point. That doesn't mean it's uninfluenced, right? It's like a snowball. It's accruing stuff as it rolls down the hill over the years and years, but the momentum is natural. I don't need to push the snowball. It falls all on its own. Any expensive art supply you regret getting? Most of the expensive stuff will last, you know, like, do I regret? Not deeply regret. It's like, you know, every now and then you buy like an $80 tube of cadmium red and it's so expensive that you can't bring yourself to use it. And then you spent $80 on it for no goddamn reason. It's just sitting in your drawer. And you've never put a squirt of it on your palette because you just can't bring yourself to use that $80 CAD red. But the good thing about that stuff is that it lasts for years. I mean, if you get some pliers and you crank that fucker and then you really massage the tube and you get the first congealed part of the paint out. And if things get really bad, you can just slice the empty paint tube, and you can buy empty paint tubes and transfer it to a new tube and crimp it yourself at the bottom. You can still use it. You know, you can still get it out if you put the effort into it. You know, like I found, I bought a Cintiq when I was much younger, and I found I didn't like them. And it's like, that was a regret, but I just sold it. I either sold it or gave it to a friend. It's like, I don't regret that. Like, my friend really liked it. I'm glad to give him some joy. And you can resell them. You know, people will buy them almost at any point. People want them, and people will buy them at a discount pretty quickly. Style should be unique and individual. That's like, for people like us, yeah, I think so. You know, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think for a lot of people, it's the way to go. Was it that way when you were learning as well? Yeah, like I said, if a homework assignment or a job was telling me specifically to do a style, which that happens at school a lot, you know, it's like in this class, it's like we're doing, you know, this class is based on learning how to integrate 3D into an art workflow. So it's like the 3D is going to heavily influence your style. There's almost no way around that. I would just do it, right? There was all sorts of different moments like that. Like had a digital landscape painting class, and in that class, it was like, you know, they specifically told us like use as many masks as possible and things like that, like trying to keep it clean while still doing landscape stuff. Okay. You know, it's like, I'm not going to go against the learning pedagogy, but outside of those situations, yeah, I always just tried to draw like myself, you know? I didn't try to force anything. I did spend a lot of time trying to hit the level of particular artists that I admired. But for me, it was about the level. It wasn't about trying to replicate their style. I never trusted style. But yeah, just to be very circumspect in what I'm saying here, I did spend a lot of time trying to hit the level. I would look at the work of the people that I thought were my favorite, and I would just like, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. There's like a level of finish, resolve, care that was clear to me that my work didn't have, and that I would just like, I'm trying to hit that. I'm trying to hit that. I'm trying to hit that. But I wasn't trying to copy their style. I wasn't going after their style. Do you enjoy using the Huion 24 Pro 4K? I don't, they're not great. That's my personal opinion. It's good. It's good for what it does. I got it because I needed to do a lot of notes once I put the course out, and notes and stuff like that are faster for me to do drawing on the screen. And I just wanted it in Photoshop because it has better file management, quicker file management than doing it on the iPad and then sending it to myself. So that's why I got it. But before that, I've always been just a regular screenless tablet kind of a guy. I like the ergonomics of that better. I prefer to draw on paper. I do better work that way. So they're good tools. They do what they do, but they're just not for me. To me, I have the same problems with the Huion that I have with the Cintiqs. I have the Huion because it's half the price or less. You know, it's not my first choice. Not at all. Is that Kamvas marker paper? No, that's Bienfang marker paper. Bienfang. On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair. Go check out the GoFundMe for the Concept Art Association. It's doing good. Consider donating. The link is in the description. I'm going to go, people. I'm very hungry. I'm going to go have some lunch. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for hanging out. What the? Oh my God. I was not intending to put it on screen. I forgot that it just popped up. That's amazing. I didn't know it would do that. Oh, that's right, because I still had the screen. I had that set to a particular browser window, and I opened that exact same page again. That makes a lot of sense. Go check out the GoFundMe. It's going great. Go consider donating to this. We're going to Washington. Concept Art Association is trying to take these companies to task and to put protections in place for people. Go look at it. Oh, no, I'm freaking throwing everything around. Let me get rid of this. Thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye, Joximus. Goodbye, Rick. Goodbye, Board. Goodbye, Basic Syphilis. Goodbye, Luckful. Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh my God, somebody help me. I need...